So what do you think's going to happen when Vivi and Robin see each other for the first time in a little over 2 years, considering the fact that the last time they interacted, it involved, them being enemies and Vivi under the impression that Robin had killed Igaram and had been working to sabotage the Straw Hats and everything else and had, helped semi-capture and, well, torture and capture Cobra and all of that stuff. What do you think is going to happen? That's kind of the question I want to talk about in this video. Given the fact that the last time they saw each other, as I said, the two of them were enemies. Subsequently, things have happened, and I'll get into that, to kind of change some of those perspective of things, but let's see what we got. So, this is basically just my thoughts on what I... Hi. And dog. Hi. Hey, Mom. Baby. Puppy Boo. Puppy Boo. Are you a good puppy Boo? I'm a good puppy Boo. What are you doing? Mama is recording. I'm going to talk about a princess and an archaeologist, who in all honesty I actually think would get along quite well. It's just, given the circumstances that they have interacted under in the past, I would have full reason for why Vivi would not want to get along with Robin. So, kind of the history that we are given with Vivi and Robin is that, of course, Vivi is, of course, Princess of Alabasta. Her and Igaram go undercover within Baroque Works, so that way they can try to find out what's going on and find out who the head of Baroque Works is, blah, 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 blah. They meet the Straw Hats, gets revealed to the Straw Hats that Vivi is the Princess of Alabasta, blah, 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 blah. Igaram goes out to act as a decoy princess. So that way it looks like, Vivi managed to escape the island to allow the Straw Hats time to escape with Vivi. And then there's this huge explosion in the ship. And it is just, Vivi watches as this happens, and in her opinion, in her mind, she thinks that Igaram is now dead. And we do actually have this great moment there between her and Nami, which kind of starts to set up their friendship, where Vivi just watches this man who has been one of her closest friends and advisors and protectors ever since she was a little kid, and who went on this undercover mission with her, supposedly just die. And just this shock and horror that is on her face, and Nami grabs her and hugs her and, pulls her in and hugs her and is trying to comfort her and everything like that. As the Straw Hats are starting to escape as well on the Going Merry at the time. And so that kind of starts to set up Nami and Vivi's relationship there. That kind of gets more solidified with everything that happens on Little Garden, with, Vivi and Nami working together there. And then, of course, subsequently, what happens on Rum Island, and then everything that happens in Alabasta, of course, starts to solidify Vivi's relationships with the Straw Hats. So we start to see that there. But what we have here is it is revealed that the explosion was caused by the Vice President of Baroque Works, Miss All Sunday. And it is later revealed that Miss All Sunday's real name is Nico Robin. This little tidbit, I believe, is actually dropped by Tashigi when Tashigi has to face off against Robin. Has to face off against Miss All Sunday and gets soundly defeated. But we have this moment where, Robin supposedly is the one that just blew up this, this little decoy ship that had Igaram on it. Igaram actually survived, which was her intention. She did not intend to kill Igaram. He survives, as we find out later on in Alabasta. But then Robin appears on the Going Merry and just starts taunting the Straw Hats and Vivi and all of that. And she, is claiming responsibility for what just happened to the ship and everything. And, Vivi is just very, very angry about this, which is reasonable. And she explained, this is where Vivi basically gives Miss All Sunday the introduction of she's Mr. Zero's partner, and she's the vice president of Baroque Works and everything like that, and she's ruthless and all of that. Vivi does not seem to be in the knowledge of who Nico Robin is at this point in time, mostly just because everything that happened with O'Hara would have happened before Vivi was even born. Considering that at this time in the story, when all of this is happening during the Alabasta saga, Vivi is only 16 years old. And she is currently in the story only 18 years old. So there's not, she wouldn't have really had a reason to know who Nico Robin is. She's not a Marine. Even if she is a bounty hunter, that doesn't seem like one of the bounty posters that they would be given to keep an eye out for, since Robin is part of Baroque Works. She just knows her as Miss All Sunday. And, Robin is there, and she's kind of taunting the crew, stealing Luffy's hat, all this other stuff that happens. And she ends up basically being, trying to get them to not go to Alabasta, trying to get them to go to this other, little island, whatever, instead, to give them an easier journey and everything. And there, Luffy doesn't want the log pose, he destroys it, and then from there, it ends up being Robin's just like, okay, fine, it's your funeral, and just like leaves. And they continue on their voyage. The next time Vivi and Robin end up interacting is on Alabasta. And this is when I believe they are in Rain Base. And Vivi is surrounded by a bunch of the Billions that are like the other lower underlings for Crocodile within Baroque Works. And what ends up happening is she's surrounded by them, and Pell shows up, and Pell is fighting against them to protect her, but Miss All Sunday is also there. And what ends up happening is, and I don't think this is something they just added in the anime, I think this happens in the manga as well, where Vivi actually kind of confronts Miss All Sunday, because there is a moment where she tries to attack her, and then Robin just, captures her, and then, supposedly just, hits her in the stomach. Strike to the solar plexus to knock Vivi out, or at least to incapacitate her. And then, so they have that interaction there. And then Robin then captures Vivi after she kind of takes Pell out. Pell's fine at this point in time, but he's kind of knocked out for the time being until he shows back up and saves Luffy. But then Robin takes Vivi down into Rain Dinners, whatever it's called, into the basement where, where Vivi tries to attack Crocodile, and it doesn't do anything because of his sand powers, and she doesn't have Haki, so it's not like she'd be able to really cause him damage anyway. Although I bet the scene would have gone a bit different had Vivi had Haki, or had she known about his weakness to water or liquid and just had her, peacock slashers coated in water or something and then tried to attack him. Might have been well, I don't know if it really would have resulted in too much of the same thing, but it would have been at least somewhat interesting to see Crocodile's face of how does this girl know Haki? But so then they have that interaction, and blah, 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 stuff happens, Straw Hats escape, all that type of stuff. The next time that Vivi really has any type of interaction with Robin is in Alabarna itself at the palace, at the castle. And this is when Miss All Sunday and Cobra, or Miss All Sunday and Crocodile are taunting Cobra. They have him pinned to the wall, with the nails in his arm and his elbows, which is just, oh god, painful to look at, and such. And so they have him pinned to the wall, and I believe Vivi sees this. I know that Koza kind of sees what happens as well, because this is where it's revealed to him what's been going on. And from there, it ends up being that Robin then ends up, leading Cobra down into the tombs because, of course, Crocodile is like, take me to where the poneglyph is and blah, 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 and I will let your daughter go. And Crocodile and Cobra, of course, makes the agreement because he wants to spare, Vivi, because he doesn't want to see his daughter die. Crocodile is, of course, not necessarily a man of his word at the moment. And, drops Vivi and all of that stuff. But the last thing that I believe that Vivi saw of Robin was when Robin was, kind of forcibly having Cobra lead her down into the tombs, into the Tomb of Kings. King's Tomb, whichever one it's called, down to where the poneglyph is. And I think that's the last time, canonically, that Vivi and Robin have seen each other. And, so everything else is happening out with what's going on out in Alabasta, out in Alabarna, with all of them fighting and everything, with, all of that, and Luffy eventually makes his way into the tomb. Now, before Luffy makes his way into the tomb, there is the moments where Robin and Cobra, where Robin is, reading the poneglyph, and she knows what it says, because, of course, she can read it, and she is finding out that, this does talk about where Pluton is, and subsequently, much more recently, we found out that it said that Pluton is actually in Wano. And now she's like, okay, well, I can't tell Crocodile that. Not that I was going to tell him the location of Pluton anyway. That's stupid. But what ends up happening is, of course, this is when, Crocodile shows up a lot and Robin lies about what's written on the poneglyph. Now, we know that Cobra himself cannot read the poneglyph, but he is somewhat aware of the fact of what is written on the poneglyph. Whether this is just information that has been passed down through the royal family, or if this was information that was specifically in the letter from Nefeltari D. Lily from 800 years ago, is a little bit left up for debate. But he at least knows that there is something involving Pluton written on the poneglyph. And he is shocked when Robin does not tell Crocodile what it says, that this is where, Pluton is located. And then, subsequently that leads to Crocodile then, stabbing Robin, and when she tries to assassinate him, and then, so she's been stabbed, and then Luffy shows up, and then he fights Crocodile. Luffy does manage to defeat Crocodile, but gets poisoned from Crocodile's poisoned hook in the process. And then Robin ends up giving Cobra the antidote to then give to Luffy, so that way Luffy doesn't die of poison. And he is very confused as to why Robin is doing this, because she just had the opportunity to tell Crocodile exactly what's written on the poneglyph, and she doesn't. And then she then gives him this antidote to help this boy who just defeated her former boss. So Cobra's a little confused at this point in time, but he does it. He still gives Luffy the antidote, and then once Luffy's kind of back on his feet, he grabs Cobra, and he grabs Robin, much to her chagrin, and jumps them out of the tomb, out of the Grave of the Kings. And then, Cobra then manages to get Luffy to safety, and Robin just kind of disappears. And we, as the audience, do not see Robin again until the very end of the arc, beginning of the Jaya Skypiea arc. And that is when, Vivi has done her big message out to her people, to Alabasta as a whole, but also sending a message to the Straw Hats, to her friends, about, it's like, I have to stay here with my people. This is where I need to be for a while. I'm sorry, and hopefully in the future, please tell me that if we do see each other again, that we can still be friends, that you'll still call me your friend. And of course, the Straw Hats do the whole, lift up their arms with the X's on them and everything. So they have that great moment there. While all of that is happening, by the way, they apparently did not do a very thorough search of the ship when they were loading everything up and everything like that, and Bon Clay was there and then helped them escape and everything, with acting as like a decoy. Apparently they did not do a very good job of searching the ship for any stowaways, because if they had, Robin would have been found. Then again, the same thing happens when they leave Zoe and Carrot happens to be with them because they didn't search the ship. And apparently neither did Whitebeard because Nekomamushi and Inarashi managed to sneak onto his ship, and neither did Roger because Inarashi and Nekomamushi managed to sneak onto his ship. So apparently there are some crews that are not good about checking for stowaways, and that's a running theme in that regard. But Robin would have heard Vivi's speech, and probably, I would like to see if we ever get a flashback to what Robin's reaction to that speech is. Because, you know, that might help affect her opinion of Vivi, because I don't necessarily think that Robin had a bad image or opinion of Vivi to begin with. It's just that at the time they were on different sides. Robin was having to work for Crocodile because he was the one who was offering her protection at the time, and he was giving her this opportunity to get to one of the poneglyphs that she's been studying her whole life, and is part of her dream and her goal for finding the true history. So her wanting to, work with Crocodile in that regard makes sense. That doesn't mean that she personally held any animosity against Vivi or Cobra or Alabasta itself. It was just, these are the current people that are currently my enemies at the moment. And she then, so it would be interesting if we ever get like a little flashback back to like Robin hiding on the Going Merry, get some cutbacks to like Oda drawing pre-time skip Straw Hats, just Alabasta Straw Hats after they just left, and like having, hearing that speech again or something like that in a flashback, and having Robin just kind of sitting there and listening and hearing what actually is being said by Vivi, and maybe just see her sit there and just kind of smile a little bit. That would be a nice little callback there, just to get Robin's opinion of what the speech was. But Robin then comes out onto the ship and is just like, okay, yeah, no, I'm part of your crew now, and Luffy's responsible for me. I'm his responsibility now. And all that, and they're just like, what? And then everything else happens. The next time that we get any type of indication of what Vivi's opinion of Robin is the post-Ennis Lobby arc. It's like the Return to Water 7 arc, whatever you want to call it, where the Straw Hats are having all of their new bounties revealed, where it is revealed to the world that Nico Robin is now a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, and all of that stuff. And we have this moment where her father, and then Pell, and Igaram, and Shaka are all there, and they're like reading the newspaper, and they're like, oh, I don't know if Vivi's gonna like this, since Robin was, Miss All Sunday and everything, and she was kind of one of the problems that happened with everything that happened with Crocodile. So they're a little worried about that. And then we just cut over to Vivi, who is like brushing Karu's feathers at the time, is brushing her duck. And, she's like, oh yeah, I read the article already, and, even though I know that she's now part of the crew and everything like that, they seem to be getting along well, and they just went through hell to try to get her. They just went up against the world government and declared war against the world government in order to save Robin at Ennis Lobby. So that already shows something. And she's like, well, I trust Luffy's judgment, and, if he has, if he wants her on the crew, then that's fine, and she's perfectly fine with it. She also mentions that she had already knew that Robin was on the crew, and since she kept track of the Straws, but I'm like, how would she have known? Robin, she was with the crew when they landed on Jaya, but the only one that she met on Jaya was Cricket, because she didn't go into Mocktown with Nami, Luffy, and Zoro. She met Cricket, but not going to Mocktown. And then it's not like Vivi has spies in Skypiea where she would know about that, so that would make sense. And then she goes to, and then they go and deal with Long Ring Longland and Foxy and, Aokiji and everything. So there's, no one there would have been able to tell her that Robin is now part of the crew. And then Water 7 happens, and that just leads right into Ennis Lobby, where it's, there's not enough, answer here for what's going on for how Vivi has this information. But she somehow has this information. And the important thing is that she's okay with the fact that Robin is part of the crew. And so, I mean, like, that's one of the things that gets brought up later, or that I'm kind of pointing out now, is because, like, the last time that we had Vivi mention anything about Robin was her saying that she was fine with Robin being on the crew. And that she trusted Luffy's judgment in having Robin on the crew. Which is a very good thing, which means that this kind of puts us in a bit of a positive position for whenever Vivi and Robin interact again. Now, canonically, as I said, that is the last time that they have seen each other. There's been some cover pages, color spreads where they've been around each other. There was one that they did a couple of years ago that I really liked. There was a bunch of the women from One Piece that are like the queens in One Piece, or the princesses, where we have, several of them together in like very nice clothes and everything like that. And I think it was part of like a fashion line or something like that. And Vivi and Robin and Nami and Hancock and I think Tashigi and Shirahoshi and Big Mom are all on the color spread. And so they've been there. And then the other time that they kind of, somewhat interact in a color spread and are right next to each other is kind of the One Piece girls color spread that they did, that Oda did, I think, at the end of Wano, where we saw a bunch of the female characters, including Yamato was on this, so I don't know exactly what to say about that, but that's not the important thing. All of them are there having fun and in swimsuits and blah, 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 just, enjoying themselves. And Vivi and Robin are right next to each other on this color spread, which I love. Koala is there too. Robin is holding Koala as like whatever Vivi's steering, whatever it is that they're on. But Vivi and Robin are right next to each other. And that, I think, is the closest that we've come to having Vivi and Robin interact. I know it's not canon, it's just a color spread, and the color spreads are not canon, although there's stuff that supposedly has been referenced in color spreads that ends up getting referenced later on. Things like that get referenced, I guess. But it's not like, oh, they've interacted right here, so they have seen each other in canon. No, they haven't. This is just a fun color spread. Although I would love it if somehow they ever ended up finding a way to make a bunch of the color spreads canon, because they are so funny in some cases. Because some of them would make sense to have be real. But, like, so we've technically seen them together, but we haven't really seen them fully interact in canon. And given the fact that right now, with everything that's happening on Egghead Island, with, this whole message that's being sent out around the world, supposedly what's happening is that Vivi, her current location, as far as we are aware still, is with Morgans and Wapol, on the World Economic Times balloon teapot thing. And that was the last time that we saw her, and she's there, and she's currently listening to the message alongside Wapol and Morgans and everybody else that's there. All the message that's being broadcast by Vegapunk. And supposedly they might be on their way to Egghead Island because Morgans, of course, wants to be able to witness what's going on. He wants to be able to get pictures of supposedly what's going on, pictures of like if, Egghead Island gets destroyed or something else like that. He wants the scoop. So there's that type of a thing happening. And supposedly, and like as the audience, we of course want Vivi to get reunited with the Straw Hats, preferably before they get to Elbath or when they get to Elbath, and her, because she was at Little Garden and got to meet Dory and Broggy, and it would be nice to have her get to see Dory and Broggy again, although currently Dory and Broggy, along with Oimo and Kashi, are on Egghead Island right now helping the Straw Hats. But it would be very interesting. And of course, as I said, as a fan base, we want Vivi to get back with the Straw Hats because she's a member of the crew. Her and Karu are members of the crew. They just left and they have like an open invitation to come back at any point in time. Should they so wish or should they so need. Although we don't know Karu's current location. He's possibly still like with Igaram and Pell and Chaka and everything. But what I would love to see, and there's a couple of instances of how this could happen for Vivi and Robin interacting again. One is that it's just that, and like the kind of the more bland answer to this, well, bland, I guess, bland in comparison, would be the Straw Hats managed to escape possibly there's something in there where like the teapot balloon shows up and Vivi ends up getting onto the ship or something like that with them. And then, like, after they've gotten out of danger, all the rest of the crew are just like so happy to see Vivi and just like give her hugs and everything like that. And she gets introduced to Frankie and Jinbei and Brooke because she's never met them before. Gets introduced to them. And then Robin, because Robin, the last time, Robin does not know what Vivi thinks of her, and Vivi doesn't know what Robin thinks of her. They don't know each other's opinions of each other at this point in time, given the fact that the last time they interacted, they were enemies. Even though I'm sure that, Crocodile or Cobra may have told Vivi what happened down in the tomb. Maybe not everything, but at least told her that, she gave Luffy this antidote so he didn't die from the poison that Crocodile had. So, maybe, Vivi would have found out about that from her father. And that might have, like, adjusted her opinion of Robin. It's like, well, she didn't let Luffy die then, so maybe. So either it's like they're all on the Thousand Sunny, introductions go around, they're like, hi, this is Vivi, she's our friend, she's a princess, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, Robin's just kind of, like, standing off to the side, still semi-recovering from, the battle and everything like that. And, like, there could just be, like, this awkward moment where, like, everybody's heads turn and, like, look at Robin. And Vivi looks over at Robin. And, like, just, like, how's this interaction gonna go? Like, what's gonna happen here? Like, is Vivi gonna go over and try to slap Robin or hurt her or something? What's gonna happen here? And, there could be, like, the awkward conversation of, like, yeah, the last time we saw each other, we kind of weren't on the best of terms, but, you help the crew, and you're part of the crew, and Luffy and the others trust you, and you've clearly proven yourself to him and the crew, and, so we'll let bygones be bygones and let water into the bridge with everything that happened in Alabasta with you, helping Crocodile nearly destroy my kingdom and kill my father. And just, like, have that awkward situation. And then, like, things just kind of go and blah, 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 blah. And then it just kind of gets shoved to the side. And that's one way that they could do it, which seems like something that Oda would probably do. That seems like a way that he would make that happen. But the way that I would like to see Vivi and Robin reunited would be a really good thing, or a way that I think would be a really action-y way of doing it, but also just show that Vivi has put any type of animosity that she has about Robin aside. Just let that into the past, let bygones be bygones, water under the bridge, buried the hatchet, whatever you want to go with. Is if, Morgan's balloon teapot, I love that thing. That thing is so cute. I love that thing. Morgan's balloon teapot, like, shows up. I hope they make, like, a construct-a-model kit out of that thing one day, like one of the Build-It kits for that thing. That would be a great little Build-It kit. I was like, I have a teapot, and it's a balloon. I like how it's a little mini Morgan's figurine. That would be cute. And, like, little seagulls. Or the news coos. I would love that. But, side note from the tangent. But what I would love to see happen is, like, the balloon shows up at Egghead while everything is still going on. Like, the Straw Hats are still trying to escape. Like, the island clouds are getting further and further out because of Edison. And they're able to move the ship on the island clouds. And, like, they have Robin on the ship because, like, Saturn's off trying to squish snails in the Mother Flame room. So they're able to try to keep escaping at this point in time. Maybe Zoro and Jinbei have gotten back to the ship and they're just working on getting their way out. And, what would be interesting would be, like, Saturn comes back, he's, like, maybe the message is finished or something, or, like, he's killed as many of the snails as he can find, and he's like, screw it, I'm gonna at least go try to get rid of Nico Robin, or maybe one of the other Gorosei tries to attack them, or something like that. And, they're still going on the ship, and Robin's on the ship, and they're getting ready to escape, Kuda burst away, whatever. And head to Elbath and, like, follow the ship that have, like, the giant warrior pirates on it, where possible, or, like, Bonnie and Frankie and Kuma and Atlas might already be on this ship, and, Luffy and Dorian Bragi and Sanji and everything, like, they might still be on their way or something like that. Well, Sanji is with Bonnie's group, but you get the idea. And, like, they're escaping. And, like, what would be interesting is if, maybe not one of the Gorosei, because as much as I think Vivi probably has done training over the last 2 years, I do not think that she would be able to stand up to trying to block or deflect an attack from a Gorosei. Then again, the same could also be said for, like, I don't know if Nami would be able to do that, but we've seen what Nami is capable of. So her being able to help, like, protect Robin when everything happened with Saturn makes sense. And as far as we're aware, Vivi's weapons still that she only weapons that she has right now are her peacock slashers, which, well, she was quite adept with them, as we saw in, in Whiskey Peak, and then in, subsequent situations and everything that happened in Alabasta. And she probably has done training since then, but we don't know how much training. And what would be interesting would be if, one of the other vice admirals or something like that tries to attack Robin specifically. Like, something happens and they try to get to Robin. And, what would be awesome is if Vivi, managed to, like, come out of nowhere, like, she'd, like, screw this, jump down, and landed on the island clouds as they're trying to escape, and is, like, running toward the ship, and something or someone shows up, tries to attack Robin, one of the Gorosei, one of the vice admirals, something shows up, tries to attack Robin, one of the Seraphim. Well, I don't know about if any of the Seraphim would show up and try to attack Robin. That would depend on whoever manages to get to the Seraphim and give them an order. Particularly if one of the other Gorosei finds one of the Seraphim and gives them an order. And what would be interesting would be Vivi, managing to deflect said attack from hitting Robin. And, because, like, maybe everybody else is occupied with what's going on, with all of them trying to escape. And Vivi is the one to block the attack and deflect it or something. With her peacock slashers or whatever type of new weapon maybe that Oda has come up with that she could have at the time. And she blocks it and she protects Robin, and Robin just, like, has, like, this look on her face, like, where the F did you come from? And Vivi just smiles at her and, like, says something about, like, straw hats stick together or something along those lines. And, like, that there would be a great way of showing everything between us has passed. You're a straw hat, I'm a straw hat. We're going to work together. I don't care what everything else happened in the past with everything that happened in Alabasta. You have, with everything that you've done to help my friends over the last 2 years and everything like that, with Luffy and his journey, and you've been with them far longer than I was, we're good, type of a thing. And, like, that just goes through. And that would be great. And that would just be a great way of showing the two of them meeting again for the first time in the, since everything that happened, with them not being on the best of terms the last time they saw each other. And I would love that if that was the case, if that was how that happened. Or, like, just something where it's, like, Vivi saved Robin, and then, like, maybe Robin did, return the favor and managed to help protect Vivi or something. In that regard, that would be great. Because it would just be like, okay, we're good. We don't have to have the full awkward conversation of Vivi and Robin hashing out their feelings as to, yes, Vivi has every right to be angry at Robin for everything that happened, but she's put that behind her. And she's moved on, because all of those kind of interactions that she had were with Miss All Sunday. They weren't with Robin actually being Robin. It was Robin having to be this, way over the top assassin, loyal to Crocodile, going through all of this stuff. And now she's actually gotten to be Robin for a long time, for the first time in her life, where she's not having to hide her abilities, hide her opinions, hide her knowledge as much, hide her, her likes and dislikes and everything like that. And she's managed to actually open up to the Straw Hats. I.e. everything that happens in Ina's lobby, where she's finally able to, after that, start calling everybody by their actual names. And that would just be a great way of having them re-interact with, with Vivi show up and have those two interact with each other. Yeah, I know the rest of the crew, Nami and Luffy and Zoro and Sanji and Usopp and Chopper, they're all going to be ecstatic to see Vivi, of course. And, you know, if Dory and Broggy, they're going to be happy to see Vivi as well, you know, because they would remember her and everything. So it's like, they would all be happy to see her. Frankie, Brooke, and Jinbei would all be, you know, just like honored to meet Vivi. Frankie would be like, hey, we both have blue hair. Awesome. You know, super, or whatever the case may be. You know, Brooke would ask to see her panties, would get hit by Nami, blah, 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 blah. Jinbei would be a gentleman in meeting her. All of that stuff. You know, all of that stuff. Vivi might get a little freaked out by Brooke, you know, for a moment, but things would be fine. And, like, all of that stuff. But Robin is like the wild card in that deck. It's either A, we can have it be like this really awkward interaction, which seems right up Oda's alley in the way that he writes stuff. Would be this really awkward interaction where, like, after the battle, Vivi has managed to get her way onto the Thousand Sunny, happy reunions, introductions, and then awkward moment with Robin. Or what I would prefer would be Vivi saving Robin, somehow protecting her from something, whatever the heck ends up happening, manages to save Robin in the circumstances, and from there, you know, water's all done, water's under the bridge, everything else is past, bygones, bygones, buried hatchet, whatever you want to go with. Whatever metaphor you want to go with. And they're able to just, like, actually start to have, like, a good relationship where, like, where the two of them and Nami can get along just great, because Vivi and Nami got along great, Nami and Robin get along great, the three of them together and so much fan art get along great. I know that's not canon or anything like that, it's fan art, obviously, but, like, they get along great. I want them to all be, like, where they can all actually get along with each other. And, like, all of that stuff. So it would be nice to see that. And either way, I can see Oda going either way. Or he could pick a third option that I haven't thought of, because there's always a third option with One Piece. There's almost always a third option. There's A, B, and then the Oda option of, like, no awkward, no saving, just go. You know, but it's like, I want something like that to be addressed in the fact that it's like the last time they saw each other, they were enemies. So I want there to be something that is addressed there in some shape or form. Either awkwardness, and then it just kind of gets pushed to the side, or it's just instantly pushed to the side anyway. And those are what I want. One of those two, possibly whatever the third option ends up being, or it may end up being that, like, they end up meeting at Elbath or something, and it does end up being the awkward situation, but maybe not as awkward. I don't know. But we'll just have to wait and see how that ends up going. But those are just my thoughts on the matter. I'm hoping this goes up either before we see Vivi again in the manga, or before we end up seeing, before, like, Vivi and the others, like, if they get to Egghead, before, you know, the teapot balloon gets to Egghead, if that is indeed where it is going. But we'll see when this goes up in that comparison. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye!